Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, RingsideNews.com. We are now just 1 week away until WWE Fastlane as the road to WrestleMania continues. Got your questions from Twitter.com/AaronRift. That is where you can follow me and also submit questions for future editions of NoDQ&A video. Let's get started today with the first one, which comes from Josh Fuller. If WWE is worried about fan backlash towards Triple H versus Reigns at Mania, how would they avoid that right now? Please answer in video. Really, the most important thing to do is to have a captivating story. I think that if the story was compelling enough and fans cared about Roman Reigns as a babyface and they wanted to cheer for him and they wanted to boo Triple H, if the story was told properly, that would be the best way to avoid backlash. There's always going to be some fans out there that will boo Roman Reigns. No matter what WWE does, they will continue to rebel and not accept the idea of Roman Reigns on top. But if WWE does a solid job with the storytelling and making Roman Reigns a sympathetic character, then you can minimize the damage and you can minimize the amount of backlash by telling the story properly. Unfortunately, I do not have a lot of confidence in WWE to do that. Their storytelling, more times than not, is weak. Every now and then they do something that works, like at TLC, but then they take a step backwards and the storyline doesn't help Roman Reigns get more over with the fans. If anything, it creates more resentment with some of the fans that already don't like him. So it's just a matter of telling the story properly. Alright, this one comes from Sean T. Flick. Your thoughts on a fatal four-way for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania between Ambrose, Jericho, Styles, and Owens? Please answer in video. I like this idea. I think that this would be a really strong match for WrestleMania, and let's face it, Dean Ambrose is probably going to be defending the IC title in some sort of multi-man match because, as we know, every year at WrestleMania, WWE wants to have as many people on the card as possible. And I think that this would be a suitable way to get several top stars in a high-profile match. Get AJ in there. Get Kevin Owens in there. Get Jericho in there. Put the four of them together since they've been having feuds with each other in various forms. I think that that's a tremendous idea, actually. I would definitely consider that as a possibility for WrestleMania and maybe have AJ Styles win the IC title in that match. That might be the way to go with him, for him to finally win a singles title after coming into WWE, become the WWE IC champion, and see where he goes from there. Alright, this one comes from Andrew. Can you see Stone Cold Steve Austin interfering in the WrestleMania main event to stick it to McMahon again? Please answer in video. Interesting idea, because there's been the talk about having somebody be in Roman Reigns' corner at WrestleMania to counteract the Authority. Now, there's been the speculation about The Rock being in that role, but WWE already tried having The Rock be there to help Roman Reigns and try and endorse Roman Reigns as the top guy. So if that did not work, maybe the next best option is Stone Cold Steve Austin. After all, WWE has been booking Roman Reigns in a similar position to Steve Austin. You know how Steve Austin was against the corporation. The same thing with Roman Reigns being against the Authority and all the odds being stacked against him. So maybe that would be the way to go, to have Austin be the one to endorse Roman Reigns and drink a beer with him at the end and raise his hand as the new champion. That could end up being the direction WWE goes in with Austin. Have him be Roman Reigns' corner man, be the guy to support Roman Reigns and take out the Authority. Now, of course, whether it's Austin or The Rock or Daniel Bryan, anybody out there is possibly going to outshine Roman Reigns. That's the one downside to having a top star out there to support Roman Reigns, is that that guy will probably get a much bigger reaction than Reigns himself. So once again, going back to earlier, it's a matter of the storytelling and in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania, making Roman Reigns a sympathetic character and giving fans all the reasons to cheer for him rather than boo for him. Alright, this one comes from Dylan. What segment/match do you think is best from the Austin-McMahon rivalry? I think the beer truck segment and Austin versus Dude Love. Please answer in video. The beer truck segment is typically regarded as the most memorable Austin McMahon segment. I think that was the official #1 ranked Austin McMahon moment by WWE. But I would say my personal favorite was the Zamboni in September '98, the day after the September pay-per-view. I forgot what it was called back then, Breakdown or some crap. But anyways, when Austin came out and jumped into the ring onto McMahon, I mean, that was just a crazy segment. It felt totally like it was something out of control and something unplanned. The sound went out during the segment. Austin getting handcuffed and McMahon screaming. It was just one of the best segments WWE ever produced, in my opinion. And also the segment that happened a week after that when Austin attacked McMahon in the hospital. To me, that was an all-time classic segment. So those are my top two. All right, this one comes from Sean. Please answer in video. What do you think when The Miz did commentary? I thought he was really entertaining, and I hate The Miz. The Miz is a great talker. He was a great talker, and he still is a great talker. It's just been in the last few years, he hasn't really had much of a role besides coming out and doing the Miz TV segments. But The Miz is one of the best on the mic in the company. I mean, he's proven it. He's gone out there in recent weeks, and he's put out tremendous performances. I mean, it's not that people hate The Miz. The Miz is a solid entertainer and performer. It's just that the material he's been given has been so weak more times than not, and he really hasn't been giving much of a purpose in the company besides just being the guy that hosts Miz TV. It's a shame because he was a former world champion, but after Survivor Series 2011, he's really just been downgraded to just another heel on the roster. But, Miz is great. I mean, I think he does a tremendous job when he's motivated and when the crowd is reacting to him. I think he gets fired up and he puts out great performances. It's just a matter... I think I look at The Miz and I see a guy that would really be at his best if he was given better material to work with. All right, this one comes from Marco. What are your thoughts on Tajiri, and do you think WWE should re-sign him to maybe feud with Hideo Itami? I always thought that Tajiri was a very good hand in ECW. He was somebody who added a lot to the ECW brand, and he gave ECW some credibility when it came to in-ring work. He wasn't just one of those guys that broke tables and did all the hardcore stuff. He actually could go out there and have great matches. And then he came into WWE and he did the comedy with William Regal, which I enjoyed, and also he was part of the Cruiserweight division. So he had a very solid career over the years. Now, as far as him coming back and feuding with Hideo Itami, I'm not so sure I'm crazy about that idea, just because I think it'll just come off like WWE is stereotyping these guys by throwing them together in feuds and storylines against each other. So because of that, I think I would not bring back Tajiri just to have him feud with the other Japanese guy in the company. Just not something that I would do if I was in charge. All right, got another one here from Sean T. Flick. Your thoughts on a fatal four-way? Oh, I already answered this one. Botch. All right, this one comes from Jake. TNA was so good in 2005 and 2006. Do you think if they keep their momentum, or if they had kept their momentum, that they could have competed with WWE? Please answer in video. The problem with TNA, the really big problem, was that they just were not able to market their top stars. If TNA had been able to market AJ Styles as a larger-than-life character and Samoa Joe and all the other guys that they had, TNA would have had a decent shot to compete with WWE and be a major force in the industry. The problem is that TNA drew in a lot of fans by being an alternative to WWE, and over the years they slowly built up their fan base, but they only reached a certain level, and I think that that's because at the end of the day, TNA did not know how to market their homegrown talent, and instead they had to rely on the Kurt Angles and the Christians, and later the Kevin Nashes, the Hulk Hogans, the Eric Bischoffs, and that was TNA's big problem, is they could not create their own larger-than-life superstars that were not previously successful in another company like WWE. Alright, this one comes from Tony. What did you think of the Legacy stable? I thought it was a cool concept, but it didn't end up elevating Rhodes and DiBiase. Please answer in video. Yeah, on paper, the Legacy group was supposed to be like Evolution, where it would create new stars in Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes. And at the time, people thought Ted DiBiase was going to be a really big deal, myself included. But once the group split up, Ted DiBiase really just floundered on the roster, never went anywhere. And Cody Rhodes was the one that ended up having a fairly successful post-Legacy career in WWE. So, yeah, looking back, it should have had a bigger impact than it did. I'm not really sure why. It just felt like, for whatever reason, once the group had broken up, WWE really did not know what to do with those guys. With Ted DiBiase, they just gave him his father's gimmick and had Maurice with him, and it didn't work. And he never ended up having any momentum after that, which is unfortunate. So yeah, I enjoyed the stable, but it should have been a bigger deal than it was. Alright, this one comes from Grant Peoples. Do you think that Terry Funk doesn't deserve the credit that he deserves as a wrestler and not just a brawler? I do feel he should get more credit for being a great technical wrestler, but the thing is, everyone remembers Terry Funk as that crazy old guy that was part of the ECW revolution. But, you know, it's because, you know, it was so long ago before wrestling became a worldwide mainstream product. You know, Terry Funk back in the 70s was a great wrestler. He was NWA World Champion, but because of the fact that his most memorable moments were involved with ECW, and because ECW has been seen by so many people, you know, that's what people remember. But yeah, Terry Funk in his heyday was a great technical wrestler, no doubt about it. Alright, and I got one more here from Grant. What is the most emotional moment in wrestling history? Well, if we're talking strictly a storyline that wasn't part of a real-life situation, like there have been several real-life emotional moments that played out on television, stuff like retirements, Edge retiring, Shawn Michaels retiring, Ric Flair retiring, recently Daniel Bryan retiring. And then there have been moments where a wrestler passed away, guys like Owen Hart and Eddie Guerrero with the tributes on Raw. But as far as strictly a storyline, for me, going back to a kid, watching WWE, I remember the reuniting of Randy Savage and Elizabeth at WrestleMania 7 as probably the most emotional storyline that WWE had done during that time period. Just the fact that Savage turned face and they reunited after 2 years. You know, it was very emotional for fans to see them reunite. It was a feel-good moment at WrestleMania. So, you know, to me that was probably the #1 moment of that period, and maybe of all time in WWE if you're talking just strictly storyline emotional moments. Alright, that'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already at youtube.com/NoDQCAW. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up. Share this video on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and so forth. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding the Fastlane pay-per-view. And I will see you guys next time for more.